Back with us on the SportsMax Zone. The Reggae Boyz suffered another setback in their bid to qualify for next year's FIFA World Cup, falling 2-0 to hosts United States in CONCACAF World Cup qualifying action in Austin, Texas on Thursday. 18-year-old Ricardo Pepi netted 2 second-half goals to condemn the Jamaicans to their third defeat in 4 games. In other matches in the round, Enrique Hernandez's 37th minute goal gave El Salvador a 1-0 win over Panama. Canada held Mexico to a 1-0 draw at the Azteca, while hosts Honduras and Costa Rica drew 0-0. The results leave these standings looking like this. The USA atop on goal difference with 8 points, leading Mexico. Canada third on 6 points, 1 ahead of Panama and El Salvador. Costa Rica and Honduras 3 apiece, while the Jamaicans prop up the table with the 1 point they collected in that away draw to Costa Rica in round 3. Let's hear the post-match comments of Reggae Boyz head coach Theodore Whitmore and defender Adrian Mariappa.
Pretty decent performance from the Jamaica team, but I think after we conceded in the first half early, 49 minutes, I think we lost our discipline, and it was a uphill battle for us.
Yeah, I think we just didn't quite get our press right. Obviously, I agree with Coach there. I just thought at times I think we just got a little bit naive, lost our discipline a bit, and obviously playing against a good side. So you allow that space and time, you can get punished, and that's what happened. So yeah, we're disappointed with the goals. We know we can do better as a team. I think we showed that first half. Like I said, we've got to be at it for 90 minutes. So good learning curve for us.
Adrian Mariappa, before him Theodore Whitmore. Now, the former Jamaica Youth Coach Vassell Reynolds joins us to discuss what was another disappointing performance and result for the Reggae Boyz. Vassell, welcome to the SportsMax Zone.
Thanks for having me, George, and it's good to see you wearing the colours, man, despite the loss last night.
Yes, and I worried deliberately because I'm saying no more than ever the Reggae Boyz need good vibes and good tidings from among their supporters, because this is really a difficult time. And the question to you and for you is this: what are the things that they didn't do quite right on Thursday from your perspective?
Well, honestly speaking, George, I would have to agree with most of the pundits in that it started all wrong from before the games last night, George. I mean, the coach was left with 17 outfield players. I thought that, I expected the US team to come and try and dominate us the first 10-15 minutes, and they did that. So it was a matter of how well we could weather the storm and try to hit them on the counter and try to settle into the game. And I thought we did that very well in the first half, to be honest. Had we had a little bit more luck, maybe we could have squeezed one and could have gone into the halftime break with a 1-0 lead. If you check the stats of the game, I thought we did pretty well the first half. The second half, it was always going to be challenging for us to keep a clean sheet. When you look at the stats in the past 8-9 games that we would have played, including the games in the Gold Cup, we conceded somewhere about the midway of the second half into the last 10-15 minutes of the second half. I thought we were kind of indisciplined in terms of trying to shut down the flanks. The US team thought that they would double team us on the flanks, overload the flanks, and get the crosses in. And as you know, George, we would have been conceding goals from balls coming from crosses, and that's what happened last night.
Yeah, Pepe got 2 easy goals. No criticism on him. The young man was in the right place at the right time. I want to talk about the performance immediately after the second half, in the halftime break, because Taylor Twellman on commentary, Vassell, asked John Champion on commentary about the intensity of the Reggae Boyz and the fall off in the seeming concentration and intensity from the first half to the second half. As evidenced, Vassell, by the fact, the most disappointing thing for me on the night, the second goal came from a throw-out by the goalkeeper to one of his defenders. The ball transitioned. By the time the ball reached Pepe, we were so short-handed at the back, you'd have thought that it was a counter-attack. But it wasn't a counter-attack. It was just a goalkeeper starting play from his position. And I thought that was very disappointing. And if we were to sum up the second half and say the early part of the second half, there was a lack of concentration and focus from the boys, I think that goal is the example to show of what we mean by a lack of concentration.
That's exactly what took place. And clearly, we were not organized in the midfield. I mean, as soon as we won possession, clearly there was not any outlet. We keep booting the ball to Nicholson, and three US players would confront Nicholson, and the ball will come back at us within seconds. You know, when you're spending a lot of time defending, your legs are going to feel the effect. And I thought that somewhere around the midway, the second half, our legs went. Javon Watson tried his best, but he just did not have the legs to keep up with the pace of the US team. And of course, we were just not organized in defense.
Yeah, and if you had to just summarize where we lost that game last night, what would you say? I don't know, but I think clearly we were short of combination plays between the attacking players and midfield. At no time I saw combination plays to the wide players getting the ball across. The service to Nicholson was not good enough. It was just booting up with him and hoping for hope's sake. I thought Maggie had a pretty good first half. I was kind of surprised that the coach took him off. And so that link between the midfield and Nicholson was non-existent in the second half. And I thought that, as I said before, we lost our legs in the last 25 minutes of the game, and the US team keep coming at us, and we were not able to withstand the pressure. Yeah, and last night there were a couple of refereeing decisions that raised a lot of eyebrows. Were there any in particular that you would say disappointed you?
Clearly, there were two iffy calls by the referee. Many people thought that it should have been two red cards or either one. I certainly thought that one of the fouls, the first one, our wingback, I think it was Lawrence, was pretty low. I thought that it was a clear opportunity for the player, and it was clearly a red card for me. So I thought we got lucky on that in those, especially in that case.
Yeah, Vassell, you spoke about the Jamaicans being outpaced in this game by the USA. I would suggest that in strategizing for the game, Whitmore would have recognized the extreme pace of these US players because he would have seen their matches earlier on. With that in mind, do you think he had the right starting roster to tackle this game, especially with someone like Javon Watson in the holding midfield position? He turns 38 years old in 2 weeks from now.
Lance, guess what? It's if you look at what Theodore Whitmore had at his disposal, I mean, separately apart from maybe Roof that I thought would have started instead of Jamal Lowe, I doubt he had any other choice really. There were three of the 17 outfield players. There were three midfielders: Watson, McGee, and Williams. So maybe the structure and the shape of the team he could have adjusted a little bit, to counter that. But he had another option really. As to whether or not Javon, should have played for 90 minutes again. The only player I thought that he maybe could have slotted in there was Javian Brown, and you saw what happened. Javian had to replace Paul when he got injured. So for me, the coach hardly had another option really. The only way he could have done is maybe tactically arrange the team so that when we win possession, we can play to our wide players. We can try to keep the ball and try and encourage some fouls onto us so we can at least slow down the game, get some set plays, and try and get ourselves in the game. And even when you play the ball to the wide flanks and you lose it, then you would have some time to recover. But clearly we were outpaced, and I thought, as I said before, in terms of the balance of the team, in midfield especially, the coach had little option.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier on that you were a little surprised that he replaced McGee, who came off in the 61st minute, and Roof came on in his stead. Would it be a better situation for you if he had at least been given maybe 20 minutes more on the field? Are you of the opinion that he should have had a longer run, McGee, seeing that he had a good first half?
Clearly, Lance, when McGee came off the pitch, I think we were 1-0 down, or yes, if I can remember clearly.
then you wanted to get back into the game because, I mean, you would have wanted at least a point from the game. The only player coming out of midfield that maybe could have given a Nicholson or one of the attacking players that final pass or get himself in a position to shoot or to score was Tariq McGee based on his performance in the first half. So I was kind of a little bit surprised. But then again, as I've always said, it's easy for us to sit here. I don't know what was the reason for the change. But clearly, I was a little bit disappointed. The fact that McGee had a pretty good first half to me in terms of you know making that final pass, try and look up for Nicholson when he makes the run, and him himself who got forward and took a pretty good shot that you know just went over the crossbar.
Yeah, personally though, Vassell, I think Tariq was fading at the time. He spoke about legs, and I'm agreeing with you that it was a legs issue. I saw him get withdrawn when Theodore Whitmore saw that he wasn't closing down, he wasn't working off the ball, and he just wanted some fresh legs, especially after we had fallen behind. One last thing, Vassell, we were previewing the game yesterday right here, and we were saying that the crucial thing was we knew the USA would hog possession. We knew that it was a case where Jamaica would get few chances, but we had to take something. And I look at two big moments. The header from Shamar in the second half, the header that he won uncontested, that he flicked wide, it wasn't even on frame. I thought that was an opportunity. And then at the death, Vassell, that long ball that he brought down with an expert first touch. So his first touch was good, his landing was beautiful, the ball was within his orbit, but for some reason he didn't breathe, he rushed, and he missed the goal frame completely with just the goalkeeper between him and the goal. And I thought, in games like these, you have to be razor sharp on your finishing. And I'm not criticizing him, but I'm just saying those two moments, it could have been a different story if we had taken those chances.
You're right, George, especially that second chance. I mean, the only thing with that play, it was an excellent pass. His first touch was good. He turns well. The only thing was that he did not hit the target. I thought that was an excellent chance. As I just said, the first opportunity maybe would have changed the progress of the game. But, you know, my concern going forward really is, you know, if Nicholson doesn't hit the target, who is going to hit the target for us? And now we reach a stage now where we need to win games. And in order to win games, you have to score goals. And that is my main concern going forward.
Yeah, yes, indeed. Vassell, thanks for taking some time to speak with us. Always appreciate your contribution. We'll talk again.
Yeah, man. Thanks very much for having me.
All right, good. So Jamaica losing 2-0 to the United States. Another game, another bad result for the Reggae Boyz. What next for them as they look to play Canada in the National Stadium on Sunday, at the National Stadium on Sunday. We continue this discussion after this break.
Okay, so two Ricardo Pepi goals condemning Jamaica to defeat against the United States in their World Cup qualifying encounter in Austin, Texas on Thursday night. The result leaving Jamaica bottom of the table on 1 point ahead of Sunday's encounter against Canada. That will be played at the National Stadium in Kingston. Now, despite their position, the 35-year-old defender Adrian Mariappa hasn't given up hope of the Reggae Boyz reaching Qatar in 2022.
As many points as early as we can on the board, but like I said, it's a long road ahead, and we know what we're capable of doing. So obviously, still full of confidence and looking to put it right in the next game.
Yeah, so real problems here for Theodore Whitmore and his men heading to the Kingston fixture against the Canadians, and badly needing a win here to get the program back on track, because at the moment things looking pretty dismal, Mariah and George.
Yeah, and as George said at the top of the show, mathematically it seems as if we can get the points. Actually getting the points to appears a bit out of reach, and I'm happy to see that Adrian Mariappa is confident and, you know, hasn't lost hope and whatnot, but I feel as if we need to have that confidence translated on the actual pitch, because when they were playing yesterday, the first half, George and Lance, they seemed to be, you know, having a sort of energy. From the time the goal scored in the second half, I felt as if the Jamaica Reggae Boyz, they were all over the place, and there seemed to be no set of consistency among the players. So if I were to say where they lost the match yesterday, it would be in the second half, and I think that they need to correct these things. Time is running out, and the opponents aren't getting easier.
most teams that go to the USA in this qualifying zone won't win. They're going to come back with nothing. That's a fact. So you go to the USA and you lose, it's not the end of the world. I think that there is a doggish pessimism around the team, and even negative vibes stronger than that, because of one result, the Panama result. And it's not just the Panama result that has stirred the bad vibes that we're seeing, but it's the Panama performance. The performance was wretched, and then the result was awful as well. If we had gotten a point from the Panama game, or even won the Panama game, I don't think we'd be here talking, and I don't think the mood music around the team would be as it is now. But that's what happens when you don't win your home games, and when you don't make a team have to play really, really hard to beat you at home. So I say that to say, again, if you look at the history of qualification to major tournaments, it's all about the home form. The teams with the best home form always put themselves in a significant position, in an advantageous position rather. And then when you pinch a point here or there on the road, if you can take 3 on the road, you know you are cooking with gas, as the Panamanians have done by virtue of winning 3 points here in Jamaica. So the Jamaicans still have their destiny in their own hands. It's not all doom and gloom. And one would like to believe that it can't be as bad against Canada or anybody else inside the National Stadium in Kingston as it was against Panama at the same time.
But George, speaking about doom and gloom, Damian Lowe ruled out because of a CAD suspension. And again, we want to find the positives. You want to believe, you want to say, all right, we're going to do it. But the more things keep happening, you have to admit that there's some sort of a loss of confidence.
Yeah, one of the worrying things for me watching the game last night is that the Jamaicans spent decades upon decades upon decades trying to beat the USA and had never beaten them. In the last 9 years, they've beaten them 3 times. So the feeling is that the Jamaicans should no longer be afraid of the United States because they know they have quality to beat them. But here comes a USA team with the players who are not established players, teenagers, making such a big impact against the Jamaica team. And what I saw last night speaks to the development of Jamaican football. Where are the Jamaican footballers that are going to take this team to the next level? The USA have them sprouting all over the place. And that, to me, was something that stood out for me last night because, we were saying that Pulisic wasn't there, Rayner isn't there, but we see new players, Pepe, and, a lot of the young players just coming to the fore and rising to the occasion. And there was no evidence of that in the Jamaican performance where, new players trying to establish themselves on the international scene were, acquitting themselves to the job.
Yeah, and just to add to Lance, the average age of the team, George, is 23 years. And I mean, when you look at the Jamaican players, you would think that because of the age of the players, they'd have a lot of experience and, they would be able to incorporate with the younger players and whatnot. But we did not see that, none of that at all.
But here's the thing, and I want to make a point about the refereeing later if we have the time. Mm-hmm. But because of the results and performances, we're having a debate and we're minded to think in a way that doesn't reflect well on the Reggae Boyz, and it creates it presents an additional layer of gloom when that layer ought not to be attached to the narrative. Here's what I mean. Look at the Reggae Boyz squad and compare it to the other squads in this CONCACAF qualifying group. Tell me which other coach in this qualifying group at the start of the World Cup campaign suddenly had to integrate players in the squad that he had never met before. I'm waiting for the answer.
None that we know.
No, without a doubt, yeah.
Good, all right. Look at Kemar Roof, one of the substitutes who came on last night, a player that I know very well from his time in the British Isles, a very good player, yeah? Does Kemar Roof, do you think Kemar Roof without GPS, just with enough taxi fare or bus fare, can he find his way to halfway tree in Jamaica?
I would think not.
I don't, and that's the point I'm making. The Americans, so you talk about a Pepe. Pepe is a product of the U.S. youth system. The U.S. play a certain way. There's a philosophy.
And there's this inner pride.
That too, but and that inner pride is fostered by coming up through the ranks, coming up through the ranks, going up the ladder. The senior team is the highest level. You're there now. It's almost as if you're still in familiar surroundings.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a throughput of players from the base of the football totem to the top, and there is this consistency in approach, and there's one common philosophy. Jamaica doesn't have that, which is why what René Simoes has achieved with the Reggae Boyz was a miracle, because he added something, but even so, he had a very strong core. Whitmore does not have that same strong core because the bulk of the players don't play here. So I'm saying Whitmore has players who, in real terms, are perfect strangers, who he is then expected to mold and meld into a final
George, you know, the counter to that
is
that the World Cup qualifying schedule didn't suddenly pop up on the Jamaica Football Federation.
But players did.
Yeah, but that was their decision. That was their decision. A lot of football fans in Jamaica were calling from last year, a year and a half ago, to get a settled squad together and work with this squad.
So you know, what this points to? It points to a bigger problem with the JFF.
But that's where I'm going. So I'm saying Whitmore, it's not in Whitmore's gift to go to England to say, that player, that player, that player. He takes what the federation gives him. And even so, it's not as if the federation experienced delays, or it's not as if the federation did that with many of these players. There were things to work out, which is why they eventually got them clearance late. So I'm not making excuses, I'm just stating a fact. I'm making a point born out of reality. That the hand that the coaching staff now has been dealt, no other coaching staff in this qualifying group has to deal with it.
You know what, you're right, George, but you know why it is a little difficult to digest what you're saying? About a year ago, Andre Blake, the captain of the Jamaica team, had said in a local interview I heard him on, suggesting that it is not a good idea to be bringing in so many...
It was on the SportsMax Zone.
Yeah, so many new players so close to World Cup qualifying because there is an issue of them needing time to gel. And he felt uncomfortable about it. And he said that. Now, I haven't heard him repeat it since that, and I think he's a scholar and a gentleman, and he doesn't want to destabilize the program. But that is something he had said from over a year ago. And it has been sustained. It has been sustained, that sort of last minute bringing in of new players. It has been happening up to 3 months ago. So it is something that I am sure he wasn't satisfied with, but as a captain and someone who wants to, you know, create a good environment in the team, he hasn't publicly complained about it. But this is part of the problem.
So, gentlemen, I mean, you gave your side, Lance gave his side. Having heard all of that, you know, the question is going to point to one man, and it's the man at the helm, Tiro Tapper Whitmore. We've heard yesterday Lance making the point that one of the newspapers have reported that they've given him 5 points for the remaining of the games. You need to come back with 5 points. Should he go? Should he stay? Will he go? Will he stay?
He won't resign, and I don't think he should be sacked.
What about you, Lance?
Well, I think Tapper Whitmore, overall, his body of work as the Jamaican coach has been reasonably good. The position that the team finds itself in now is a very, very difficult one. And I see no signs of the team's performance improving in the coming months. And the responsibility lies with the coach. So if the JFF sacks him, I wouldn't complain, to be quite honest, but I would still think him unfortunate, because I don't think a lot of the issues surrounding the performance of the team he has to shoulder by himself. But he's the coach. The responsibility lies with him, and the performances and the results aren't there.
Yeah, as we go, though, we have to talk about the referee, Rayon Radix, quickly from Grenada. I thought the treatment of Rayon Radix by the commentary team was a disgrace. John Champion, a man I have tremendous respect for, and Taylor Twellman is distinguishing himself as the colour analyst. He's rather good, But the men, they were over the top in their criticism of referee Radix. The second tackle, all right, you can say what you want about the first, hauling down a man running through on goal, that's a red card, he gave a yellow card. We've seen that happen in the big leagues in the world. We've seen that happen in major competition. The commentators move on. For the second tackle, it was clear on the replay. It was clear on the replay that Damian Lowe got something on the ball. Then they made it seem as if he was making this mistake because he was amateur. He wasn't supposed to be at this level, which is very damaging to a referee, to a fellow professional. And then in this time, a black man at that. So two white men sitting in their lofty positions are telling you that a black man from a small country in this part of the world ought not to be at this level because the level is bigger than him. Just because he made a call that turned out to have been the right call on replay, but they were too big to even admit that, oh, he did get the ball before following through and catching the man, so we need to revisit and withdraw what we said. They didn't even say that and apologize. Their narrative was just to beat down Rayon Radix from Grenada for the tackle and the subsequent action not to send Damian Lowe off. And I thought their treatment of him was disgraceful. When Mark Clattenburg came on and they asked him about it, Mark Clattenburg said, well, even if you get the ball first and you take the man, you're obliged to send the man off because referees this. Mark Clattenburg, of course, has been a Champions League final referee, top referee. He was talking rubbish because unless referees are given a different book to that published by the International Football Association Board, I have the copy here and I've been reading it from last night. One of the few things I do well in life is read and understand. And I read it 13 times over to see if there was anything in the rule to say if you are making a tackle and you catch the ball before you catch the man, then it's an automatic red card. It is not. That was what Mark Clattenburg was saying to feed the narrative that this black man was out of his depth in that World Cup qualifier. And I'm very disappointed in John Champion, a man I have tremendous respect for, and Taylor Twellman blotted his copybook significantly with his comments last night.
Yeah, and to add to what you're saying, George, one of the most disappointing aspects of the commentators' performance for me last night is how they persisted with the narrative. It wasn't in only those moments that they said what they had to say, but late in the game they kept making references to their perception of his poor performance in the game, which was uncalled for. And it's something that I hadn't heard before in commentary on international football.
Yeah, and I thought their job was to actually comment on the actual match and not go on and on. Well, George, what's coming up later?
Well, later on the SportsMax Zone, we'll talk about Cristiano Ronaldo being named the Premier League Player of the Month for September, when many felt the award should have gone to Mo Salah. But of course, next, fight time, Wilder, Fury, the trilogy, the heavyweight contest the world is waiting to see on Saturday. And that last sentence is not hyperbole. The world really is waiting to see this.